Hey guys, welcome to Sweetcast. This is Clint. So I want to talk about release schedules for comics. Has been something that's been very interesting to me because comics seem to be changing. It's undeniable that the industry is going through some major shifts, and comic sales are suffering. Individual issues are suffering in sales, and I didn't think about this before until I watched was listening to that live stream with Ethan and your boy Zach. They're actually talking about my book, so that was cool. But something else that they talked about was comic book stores basically survive off of single issue comics being sold, and if single issues aren't selling well, then comic book stores aren't doing well. And it's the economics, of the situation. So for me personally, I buy single issues, floppies, for different reasons than I buy trade paperbacks. There's definitely some overlap. For me personally, I'm not saying this is what everyone does. I've not done any research on this. But for me, I will get a hankering to follow a story issue by issue. If I like the artist and I just want that feeling of having something monthly or twice monthly that I can go and read, it's just, there's something fun about it. And so I'm very selective as to which books that I would follow that way. And usually, honestly, it has more to do with the art because I want lots of issues with lots of covers by that artist. So that's my mentality. That's how I go. As far as reading a story like that, I have this tendency to actually buy them. Like I'll go to the local comic book store, pick up my pull list, and then just sit on it at home. and I don't do anything with it until I have maybe 4 issues at least. 4 issues, maybe 3. And then once I have those issues, I will read them all in one sitting, or maybe a couple of sittings. But I'll read them so that they're fresh in my mind. I'm not reading them a month apart. So while I really enjoy collecting those single issues, I still enjoy reading them clustered together. And I don't think I'm alone in this. Maybe, I don't know. I'm curious what you all do. Let me know how you read comics. So on the other hand, when it comes to trade paperbacks, I get trade paperbacks when I'm just interested in reading a chunk. So I like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I've liked it ever since I was a child. So I will, even that though, I don't usually buy one trade paperback and read it and then wait for the next one to be released and then read it. I'll actually wait several months or a year, and then I'll buy 4 or 5 trade paperbacks, and then I can binge read them, I guess. I mean, again, it's over the course of a little bit of time, but they're still clustered together, so the story sort of continues in my mind a little bit more closely related. All right, so those are just some of my reading habits when it comes to comics. And there's definitely one-off things. I will buy a single issue of something if it happens to be there and I've heard good things about it. I'll read the number 1, and if I like it, then I'll decide what I want to do from that point. Sometimes it's been go on eBay and find all the single issues to catch up, and then follow it with my local comic book stores, or it's just wait for the trade paperback. Depending, I don't know. I guess I just go with it. A lot of it has to do with the covers. If I want those covers, then I'm getting single issues. All right, so the monthly book, I think it's in peril, honestly. Monthly books, if comic shops are suffering so much, buying single issues one at a time, once per month, getting it shipped to you, just, again, the economics doesn't make a lot of sense. If they were treated like magazines, like just kind of throwaway magazines, you could order it and get it stuffed into one of those really cheap plastic bags, no board or anything, and it gets shipped to you. And I've done that before with comics, actually. And you'll get it, and it's sometimes in pretty good condition, sometimes it's in questionable condition, but it doesn't matter. It's just you got the book, it's being shipped to your house, you've got a subscription. So that works. That's one way of doing monthly books without a comic book shop, and it works for magazines and other things. Problem is, most people that collect single issues aren't aren't crumpling up and throw them away afterward. It's more of, there is a collectability to it. So there's these different facets of how people collect comics, why they collect comics, and the price of it, to make it affordable. So when it comes to crowdfunding comics, crowdfunding a single issue each time makes no sense for absolutely nobody. You could charge $4.99 for a book, a standard size, like 22 or 24 pages, 32 pages book. You could charge $5-6, and then you're gonna have to charge $10 shipping, something like that. Ship it to them, and then especially if you're shipping worldwide, then they get it. They paid way too much for it, and then they're gonna be waiting a really long time for the next one. Or I guess you haven't finished ahead of time. I don't know. This is all stuff I'm trying to figure out. All right, so I'm looking at Witches here. This is Scott Snyder's book that he did with Jock. And Matt Hollingsworth on the colors. I really like Matt Hollingworth's colors. They're really cool. So on this series, I know that he thinks about it in arcs, and it's almost like a season. He's not the only one. I've seen other Image books like this. It's definitely something that's out there. So he's got 6 issues, looks like 6 single issues, and then ends. He wants to continue the story. I know there's going to be a second one. I actually didn't finish this. I have Witches #1, and I actually have this Halloween one. So yeah, that's all I have. And I'm fine with that. My point is, he's doing this in arcs. So he has 6 issues, waiting a couple years, going to release another 6 issues, and who knows how long that'll go. But it's almost like, I think of it as like a season, like in a TV series, where they sort of come out in a spurt, and then there's an off time. And I'm sure that's good for artists, because they can catch up and work on other things, and probably writers too. But I'm just trying to figure out what is a digestible way to do this. So I was looking at Brian K. Vaughan. And he's the writer of a lot of things, but Saga in particular, he talked about it a little bit. And on Saga, he has the same kind of mindset. So it's being released in seasons, so it's not monthly all year round. Never read Saga, but I did find that interesting. And so, yeah, again, this is another, I guess, possible way to be launching comic books. So another way is, Ethan Van Sciver and I think, Richard Meyer. They're talking about releasing 1 book per year. So like you're doing, you do it through crowdfunding. It's thicker. It's at least 48 pages, if not bigger. And then that book gets released to people, delivered. And then the next year, sometimes the next year, you have the new one, and people order it, and it takes a little while to make it. I hope the second time around, for most people, it's mostly done beforehand, because that's helpful. But I guess what I'm getting at is, for indie comics right now, it feels like me as a reader, I'm not getting satisfied with the format that the way things are being put out there. And a lot of it is just practical restrictions. Doing a monthly book, you get a lot more pages done, and then you can release trade paperbacks like 4 times a year, 3 times a year, however many per year. And people are just getting more of it. There's just more to read. That's how I like to read. I like to read in big sections, not in smaller sections, and then waiting a really long time. Now, waiting a really long time, I think, is okay if you're getting a big chunk of stuff to read all in big sections. I think of Netflix, binge watching, same kind of deal, basically. You're getting the whole season, you get all the episodes, and a lot of people will just watch it all like in a couple weeks or less, and then they're done, and then you're willing to wait a year for the next season to come out. I don't have cable or anything like that, so for me, that's how I watch television, basically. So I watch fewer shows, actually, but yeah, me and my wife will have our favorites, and we'll watch those every year and just devour the whole season at once. So this would be a nice way to do it, but again, it's not one episode per year, or like 2 episodes, 3 episodes per year. It's like a whole season you get per year, and then the next year you've got the whole new season. So these are all just considerations. Something I'm toying with is how to make this practical and both satisfy people that are into reading comic books, but also make economic sense, and keep quality up and all that kind of stuff. So for Downcast, this is my book that it just ended for the main campaign, $26,000. Thank you, everybody. It is open now in in-demand stores, so if you're interested, you can still go back it. 759 backers. This is amazing. Yeah, so this will be open for a little while because Ignacio Lazaro, the artist, he's now working on the art. So this, it'll still be available. Point is, though, it's still without the support of an entire publishing house and all that kind of stuff, and full-fledged creative teams to be doing all this stuff and streamlining it. It does bog things down a little bit, and it makes sense. It's totally understandable, but I'm trying to find ways that make sense in sort of this new format of comics to make it work for readers as well as collectors. So right now my thought is, ideally, if I could do 3 of these campaigns with these really thick books. This is 52 pages of story. It'll be 56 pages actually for the book. If I could have 3 of these done, that would complete a story arc. That's actually like a big 6-issue series. It would be totally comparable to Witches, a 6-issue series as far as page count goes. But you're doing 3 installments. They're smaller, I guess, trade paperbacks. But those get prepared ahead of time. Then you launch them all within the matter of, you could do it in a year, really, or maybe over a year and a half or something. But you have them so they come out close enough that people are able to read them with decent proximity to each other, so you're not forgetting everything that happened to the last one. And then you prepare the next season and you release the next 3, in a different kind of campaign or something. I'm curious if that would be a good way to consume stories without single issues, because on crowdfunding sites, single issues just don't make a lot of sense. It's too expensive for everybody. You want to get more bang for your buck, but you also want the story to continue. You want enough of it that it feels like you can binge a little bit, or just continue the series without waiting forever for the next installment. One other thought I had about this, I realize, guys, by this point, this is just a lot of thinking, and I'm hoping that a lot of you will have some great opinions on it. But yeah, if this video doesn't get a lot of views, I'm okay with that. I'm just trying to work through some of this stuff because I think it needs to be figured out. This is important. But another thing you could do is actually have a couple artists that are working on the same title, and you alternate. So one's working on the first issue, one's working on the second issue, and you would just alternate. Now, that would be kind of obnoxious to read, depending on the artists and the style and all that kind of stuff. I know it kind of bothers me when people change artists on me, but it happens. In monthly comics, it absolutely happens. But that would definitely increase the rate at which stories could come out, and you could actually enjoy these crowdfunded stories as a series, as opposed to just like one-shots. So I don't know. In case you haven't guessed, I don't have any of this figured out. I'm just working on it right now. So let me know what you think in the comments below. I would be really interested to see if any of these, like the season format works, going 6 issues and then taking a break and then another 6 issues. If doing something like 3 big, thick issues come out within a year or something like that, is that a better format for you? Or is it better just to wait until you have like 200-page long installment and drop that on a crowdfunding site, and then you've got something to binge watch? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you next time.